On today's episode of Full Strength Leader, we talked with Danya Granado, who is a storyteller in every sense of the word, a performer, filmmaker, and creative producer based in LA. She is developing original solo work for the stage, performs in comedy ensembles across LA, and is currently producing a documentary project about her family and a commercial project for NBC's 100th anniversary. She is tired. Personally, she leads alumni engagement and career strategy for a top visual effects and animation school, building bridges between emerging 3D artists and the film industry. And on today's podcast, we talked through a lot of this creative side of corporate that we don't necessarily have time to chat about when it comes to how do we refuel that and how do we revitalize that in order to be the most productive that we can be. So, let's get started. You didn't get to where you are by playing small. You got here by outworking, outthinking, and outleading the room. But the higher you climb, the harder the questions get, and nobody hands you a playbook for this level. Welcome to Full Strength Leader, the podcast for executives, high performers, and leaders who refuse to coast, with surface-level leadership advice and ready to do the real work. Hi, I'm Kabrina Ashley, applied neuroscience practitioner and leadership consultant, and this is where I bring you the intersection of science and strategy and where real leadership gets built. Every episode, I bring you the research, the real talk, and the frameworks you need to lead at your absolute best, even when things feel upside down and on fire. Because half-strength leadership isn't an option. This is Full Strength Leader. Hey everybody, welcome to Full Strength Leader. I am here with my friend Danya, and we actually met in college. So we've known each other for a very long time and then took a 10-year hiatus. And I reached out to her on LinkedIn and was like, hey, you're doing cool things. Do you want to come be on the podcast? And so we were just chatting about some old times. And we're going to be talking today about this idea around creativity and how do we pull it in when it's not something that we talk about all the time. It's kind of like the fun thing that we do on the side. It's not the thing that we get paid for. And how do we pull more of that creativity into our daily corporate lives when maybe we're the only people in the corporation that value it? So, Danya, do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Hello, thank you for having me, Kabrina. This is so fun. It's fun to catch up with you. Um, hello. I think I told you in my bio, I'm a storyteller. I think I'm a storyteller in every sense of the word. I do a lot of comedy, live comedy here in Los Angeles. So I do stand up, do some improv. I'm doing a solo workshop where I'm starting to write like a solo show for the stage also for this summer. And just performing in a lot of comedy shows around town because of that. I'm also trying to create a documentary using found footage about my family. And I'm working on a similar project for NBC's 100th anniversary this year. And I love this is a really fun place to live because everybody's telling a story all the time in so many different ways. So that's my main thing is storytelling. And I'm really excited to talk about creativity with you today.
Yeah. And I think the really fun thing about this is that being in the kind of positions that I've been in over the years, creativity is something that I talk about a lot. But we had talked a little bit at the very beginning of how people don't seem to value that.
Yeah.
And so in some of the work that I do, I have conversations of like, well, innovation and creativity live on the same spectrum, but we like to call things by this
Hmm.
other name
Hmm.
because we're kind of playing the Shakespeare game of a rose by any other name. It smells so sweet. We're like, it's creativity, but we're going to call it innovation because that makes us feel
Hmm.
better.
Wow. I wonder too if it's almost like gendered language. Like
Mhm.
innovation has a more masculine connotation to me. And creativity has a more feminine connotation. And I'm reading too far into this maybe, but that's what you just made me think of. I didn't even think of them being the same thing until you said that. That's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and it's so interesting to me because I'll go into companies and I'll be training and somebody will be like, "Well, we don't have enough innovation." And I was like, "Well, you don't value failure and you don't value creativity, so of course you don't have innovation." Because part of creativity is failing forward and going, "Ooh, that didn't work. Let me use a paintbrush. Okay, that didn't do the thing that I wanted it to do. Let me use a stick and see if that does what it needs to do. Because we live in such a fast paced reality in corporate that we're basically told you have to do it, you have to do it right, and you have to hurry up and get it done, or
Yes.
you're not valued and you're not the high performer if you're not doing X, Y, and Z as fast as you can down that road.
That's so true. Like the I think you've like hit on something really essential, which is that failure is like essential to being creative. And that does suck when a lot of that failure, like, oh, this is something I've really been thinking about this year a lot. Um, I I don't know if you're on TikTok. Are you on TikTok regularly?
Mhm.
Okay, so there was a TikTok at the beginning of the year that was going around where this girl said her goal was to get rejected 1,000 times.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I 100% started doing that. I use Airtable for my CRM and I use it for personal stuff too. And I made a new grid in there, a new sheet, like 1,000 rejections is what I called it, so I can track my stats this year.
Mhm.
And I know it sounds like everybody that I've told is taking it in a negative way. They're like, "Well, why would you want to keep track of that?" But I'm like, if I can show that I've been rejected 1,000 times, it means that I've tried something. I've tried different things 1,000 times, and that would be an achievement to me that I've tried 1,000 times. Because something I've really been thinking about this year is like how many times I tried something once and I failed at it, and then I didn't try it again.
Well, and
And that
that's so common.
yes.
And I mean, I watch it with my oldest daughter who's 11, and she'll
Mm,
try one thing and then she won't be good at it. And I'm like, of course you're not good at it. You just did it. And then I will do something for work and go, well, I'm not good at it. I don't want to do it anymore. And then I have to like hear my own voice in my head go, you
yeah,
were just telling somebody else this. And then I'll tell a client that. And my boyfriend will be listening and he'll go, I'm pretty sure you just said those words to someone else. Do you want me to repeat them? And I'm like, yeah, this is why we podcast and this is why we make content so that we can just like hear ourselves say the same things to ourselves because we're preaching to the choir.
100%. It's so much easier to it is easy to tell people. And sometimes when I catch myself doing it, I go, "I'm telling you, but I'm really telling myself," like, in conversation.
Yeah.
Because I, like, hear it, I'm like, "Oh, wait a second, like, you need to think
Mhm.
about." Man, like, I think what's been freeing about, like, using that challenge or whatever, the 1,000 rejections challenge, it's a high number, so it's gonna take me a while to get to 1,000, but, like, what's been freeing is, like, the goal is to get rejected, I guess.
Mhm.
And so anytime I get an acceptance, it's a bonus, but the goal is like reluctantly I'll be like, "Oh, I got rejected." But then I like think about it, I'm like, "Oh, I can add that to my list. So great. I can add this
Yeah.
to my
You're
list."
like, I can check this off my list.
Exactly, which is nice. Because that's been really freeing because I'm like, no matter what, my end goal is to get rejected 1,000 times. So, but it's been so freeing to be like, and what's so crazy is like how many times, and the girl in the video who made the challenge up said this, but like, it's crazy how many times you'll get a yes when you expected a no. And that has been happening too, but like, for example, like one of the really big ones that happened this year was that in 2021 I made a really rough cut of a documentary about my family using the found footage that I was talking about earlier. And I submitted it to literally one short film competition and I obviously got rejected. And I was like, that was so bad. That was such a bad attempt. They hated it so much that I just like hid it. I never even showed it to my family. I never showed it to anybody besides like submitting it to that film festival. So fast forward to last year, I heard about an opportunity to apply for this grant that has to do with like this is for a film project for NBC's 100th anniversary, like I talked about. And it said like, show us any of your work where you've used archival footage or anything like that. What's your voice? Like what kind of documentaries inspire you? So I applied for the grant and I was like, the only project I have is this stupid thing that got rejected from 2021. So I added it and I got accepted to that grant program because of that exact project that I thought to put away.
Lovely. Yeah.
So I was just like, that like blew my brain because I was like, how many other pieces of art, like how many other things have I made that I could try again, try one more time to see what
Mm-hmm.
comes of it. That's so crazy. Like it just like really, really empowered me this year. Like that, I've just been thinking about that. I've been looking for other opportunities to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what a cool thing to show yourself is that even though you may have thought it was going to take you 100 times to do that same thing, you only had to get rejected once before you were like, okay, well, let's just see what happens,
It's true.
which
Yeah.
is so cool because there's so many good ideas that I see, and people will be like, oh, well, we tried that and it didn't work. Or, you'll be a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I have a founder that I've worked with in the past, and he's always about 3 to 5 years in front of the curve,
Hmm.
which is fabulous and
Yeah.
also super detrimental because you're trying to convince people of like, this is where the world's going. And it doesn't get there right away. And so
Yeah.
I've watched him do projects over the years where it's like, hey, yeah, these are really doing well. And he has to kind of like slow down and be like, where's the market? Who's buying now? And
Hmm.
who's going to buy in 5 years from now? And how am I going to keep these people engaged? And there's so many people, especially within leadership and in like C-suite positions that think like that, but feel like they're, suppressed because of the fact that they can't actually do the things that light them up.
Hmm.
And I don't have an answer to this, and maybe you can and put some thought process into this of is there a way for us as leaders and as people who are trying to be creative to basically how do I explain this to you in a way that makes sense, but you're not gonna see it manifest for the next few years. Like I think about people growing up. Like if we had known the things that we know now, I say this a lot. If I had known this when I was a teenager, if I had
Yeah.
known this when I was in college, I would
Yep.
have made these other decisions. And we have these
Yep.
people that are more like futuring than we are going, here's what's coming. And then you look back and you're like, oh man, they were right. So, how do you, as that person who's futuring in your space, explain that to people?
That is so hard. That is so hard. I feel like I know a few people in my life that are like that as well, where it's like, that's such a good question. How do you explain to people like the value of what you're doing? I think something that comes up in my my workplace is that, like in my corporate life, I guess, something that comes up is like, it's so stupid, but I like do a lot of, I'm the person who like uses our database and makes all of the changes to it or designs interfaces based on the data that we have. And oftentimes and maybe this is like kind of an unethical, almost not good way to do it, but I don't know, ethics, maybe not. But something that I do when I know that my idea is good is I'll just do it as like a proof of concept and then I'll demonstrate how it works. Like I feel like showing it to someone and explaining how it works after the fact or asking for permission after the fact is the only way that I get what I want, like in that
Yeah.
setting. So often if I
Yeah.
try to explain it like, "Hey, I think I have this idea and I think we can make it better," they'll be like 90% of the time, they're like, "No, I like the system as it is."
Mhm.
So then I have to just like
I
take my own personal time to create it to show them a proof of concept.
I love the ask for forgiveness. I'd rather ask for
Mhm.
forgiveness than permission.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
um, when I first started college, actually, I was sitting in you'll know who this person is. We're gonna say your name on a podcast. Um, so Gary Ewan was the dean of the business school that we went to, and, was like the first week, he's like, "It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission."
Mhm.
And I was like, interesting. As a former people pleaser and rule follower,
Exactly,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean? We don't do that. We ask for permission and then we go do the thing." And I had to basically have it beat out of me over years of experience that my pathological people pleasing needed to be broken in order to get where I wanted to go. And I think that there's so much of and maybe this is a school thing, because we are programmed to be these people that make widgets and do these things. We're taught what to think, not how to think. And it's unfortunate that we kind of still live in that. But if we could teach people how to think, then maybe they would ship faster. Seth Godin has a great book called
Mhm.
The Practice. And he talks about how so many of these artists didn't make any money from their work. They, were super depressed. They had lots of issues. And his big encouragement is like, just ship it, get it out there, put it out into the world, because we can't, it becomes a group project at some point. Like we have this baby that we've created. It's our piece of art that we've painted, our program that we've created, our LLM that we've done, our business that we've put our time and effort into. And then you put it out into the real world, and all of a sudden it kind of has to flounder on its own. It's like sticking the baby bird out of the nest and going, I hope you can do it because you don't have any choice. You're going to fall to your death.
Mhm.
And I think most of the time we're too afraid to let our projects take the chance of falling to their death, and realizing, I think on back end, that maybe they coast their way down and they just sit there and they don't actually do what they're supposed to do, kind of like the project that you were doing. It gets rejected one time, but then you give it one more chance and you're like, oh, okay, you figured it out.
Yes.
And we look at life way too binary. It's like it's a one or a zero when there's a
Yes.
lot more gray space in between than anything else.
100%. I don't know why it took me so I guess I'm frustrated because I'm like, it took me so long to get to this point. Because
Mhm.
how much more could I have done if I had thought this way before? I guess that's what I keep coming back to. It's like,
Yeah, but maybe you
why did
had
I
to
let
have
anybody tell me
those.
it's a failure?
Yeah. Well, maybe you had to have those experiences in order to be brave enough to put the thing out there in the first place. Because what happens so often, especially when you're thinking about the work that you do, and I feel like when you get into a position, you're feeling it out. You're going, it's like getting into high school for the first time and going, okay, who's going to like me? Who's going to not like me? Which clique do I need to be a part of? And so there's a lot of those people dynamics that we kind of brush to the side, and we were in communications together. So we can kind of talk through some of those pieces too, because it becomes, how am I communicating with other people? But then what is the story that I'm telling myself in the midst of that? Like if somebody looks at me funny at work and I go, oh, they just must not like me.
Mm,
Or I go, oh, is there something wrong with my outfit? Uh, then, we've already told a story when it could have just been like, they ate something spicy and they walked down the hallway and they just had that look on their face, or they were thinking about something else, or they just got a weird text message from their partner. And you just happened to be looking at them when they were looking up from whatever it was that they were doing. So we don't have these kinds of conversations, and then we just run with that story. So, like, previously, like, tell me a little bit more about when you had the rejection, because this is like a big piece of what you're doing right now. When you had the rejection the first time from the film festival, what were some of the things that went through your head that you were saying to yourself?
sorry. Oh
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it felt like such a personal attack. Like obviously when you create something, it's so personal to you. Like it feels so bad when somebody tells you that it's not worth their
Yeah.
time.
Worth their time. Mhm.
And I was having such a hard time with that. Like for context, like I was working as a news editor at the time and I was like y- staying later at work to finish this project because I was like the only time I can edit this is when I'm here. Because I think I just had a worse computer at home. So I was like, I'm just gonna edit this here. And it was taking
Mhm.
me so long and I also thought like I hope this is the best that I can do. Like it's just so embarrassing. Like it's so humiliating and embarrassing to feel like you did your best and it was not good. And, like, not to I don't know, going backwards in time, like, when we were on the debate team together, for example, I don't think I was ever very good at it. Like, it was a very frustrating
You were
experience.
adorable.
I don't know if I was very good at it. It was very hard, I think, and I remember wishing that I was better at it and not being able to figure out why I wasn't. And also, my parents, like, just objectively didn't really care that much. Like, I did try to explain some things to them, but I remember calling one of them after a really hard round or something and being like, "It was really hard, like, I don't know why this happened, I don't know why we lost," and I remember them saying, "If you are not good at this, why do you keep doing it?" And then I was like and that honestly, it was probably, like, an offhand comment, I'm sure they don't even remember saying that, but, like, that exact mindset is, like, what limits me from doing anything. So, like, until recently, like, in the last couple of years, when I'm like, they were probably tired, they probably didn't, they didn't understand context, and they probably didn't think this would, like, stick with in my brain for so long. But I remember hearing that and being like it kind of just validated, like, the same feeling that you said you had, like, if I don't get it right one time when I try, then what's the point? And so that project, like, I felt like I took, like, weeks to work on it. I was working really hard and working really late on it, and it was so deeply personal because I had a loss in my family, and it was sort of about that person. And, like and again, like, I could've I guess the thing is, like, part of it too is, like, I didn't look for the right place maybe or the right context to submit that project. I think I just looked at whatever was available, and they probably had, like, I wasn't thinking about the overlap between, like, what I had and the opportunity that would be best for me, if that makes sense.
Mhm. That is so you made 2 really great points. You
Yeah.
mentioned that somebody said, why if you're not good at this, why do you keep doing it?" And
Mhm.
so what most people don't realize is that the way that your brain is put together, so for women, it's before 21, and for men, it's before
Hmm.
25. Those things that parental figures, teachers, people say, I will talk to executives who will be like, "My mom said this to me, and that's why this is holding me back from getting it to the next level." And so this is actually really, really common.
Mm.
And some of the brain work that I do with people from the neurological side is how do we figure out what those things are? Because sometimes, unless we're having this conversation and somebody goes, "Well, tell me how you felt about that." And it'll come out in like a therapy session or in a coaching session. And then you'll go, "Okay, well, that was cool. We realized it." And then we don't do anything with it. And so, like realizing that you have trash in your closet that smells bad and going, "Okay, well, we found it," but then closing the door and not doing anything with it and just still letting it do its thing and percolate there. And then it shades everything that you do because now every time something gets hard, your subconscious goes, "Okay, well, if I'm not good at it, why am I still doing it?" And it's not even your voice in your head, it's the story from somebody else that they've now superimposed onto you, and so we're looking through the cellophane at somebody else's story and trying to see our own through it. And I think that that's why we have these realizations later on in life of like, well, why didn't I recognize that? Why did it take me so long? And it's because we had to kind of like scrub those off over time. And some of it happens on its own. And then there's ways to get rid of it faster that we're now learning because of all of the brain science that has come out in the recent years. But the
Mm.
second thing you said was, maybe I didn't have it in the right place that was going to value the thing that I was doing that was perfect, that was good for me. And I think that this goes for relationships, being with the right
Yes.
person, finding the right job, putting our projects in front of the right people, finding the right audience. So whatever bucket you find yourself in at any given time in life is is the people that I am presenting to the people that are going to value the work and the things that I bring to the table. And I
Exactly.
think that you learn that, unfortunately, the hard way most
Yes.
of the time because people just go, well, that was just how life went. That was just the path that I took. This was just what I learned along the way. And if you could be like, but what if you knew what audience to go for, or you knew like this 1,000 failure challenge? like getting me 1,000 no's. What if you went into every situation going, I'm not um connected. I'm not going to emotionally connect my worth to this outcome.
Yeah.
And it would make job search so much easier. It would make finding the right partner so much easier because it's hard to put yourself out there. I just went through the whole dating scene not that long ago, and
Yeah.
that was a hoot and a half, let me tell you. You walk into speed dating or something like that, and you come out and nobody's asked for your number, and you're like, "Am I too fat? Did I wear the wrong thing? Am I just not the right person? Like, what did I do wrong?" And instead of going, "This was not the right situation, this was not the right crowd for me,"
Yeah.
we go, "I'm broken, and
Hmm.
so thus I should fix me." And I think high performers do this more often because low performers aren't thinking about that. They're not worried about if they're the wrong person for the wrong thing. I wish I could be as, I'm just gonna show up and do the thing and, like, not worry about it, but I'm the person who's like, "Oh my god, I must go out and do the thing and do it the best." And I think so many people that I talk to say the same thing, and they're like, "Why am I this way?" Like, great question. Let's dig deep into that."
So true. It's like when people say like, "I can't be nonchalant." I'm very chalant. I feel that very
Mhm.
deeply.
Oh,
But
yeah, like the whole thing of, "I'm demure." I'm like, "I'm not demure."
I'm not. I have to be the opposite of that, and I'm so sorry. I have
Yes,
to be
yes.
really intense at all times, and I know
Mhm.
sometimes I don't know how if you are okay with cursing on this, but
Well, go
um
for it.
it's pretty harsh curse word, but I was like last year I was helping my friends plan an event, and I'm going through a spreadsheet that I made on like a PowerPoint, like showing it on their TV. And I'm like, I know this is very specific, and I know I sound like a cunt, but I promise you that this will work the way that it's supposed to if you follow these steps. Because I could
Yeah.
like see their faces like, you're being such an asshole. I was like, I know that I am, but I promise you this will help you. I have
This is the SOP, this is the KPI, and this is the data that I need from you to make sure that this goes where it's supposed to go.
literally, literally. And I'm like, everything is collected in that way. Yes, I am that person, unfortunately, for everyone. Oh man. But you know what I mean? Like, something that I think about a lot, especially when it comes to creativity, is like finding success, I guess, when it comes to finding success in any arena. Like, a lot of people say that things are luck or that it's like, I think that like even luck can be like manipulated. Like,
Mhm.
put yourself in the position to be lucky. Like, how are you presenting yourself in the right opportunity to the right people with the right connection? Um, and I don't know if you have like language for this that maybe I don't have, but I've tried to like tell people, because I do some career coaching for students at the school that I work at. That's my job basically. And so sometimes I'm like, think of the ways where you can position yourself to be lucky. Because it's not really luck. How can we position you to be lucky? Like I was talking to a student recently. He wants to freelance. The school that I work at, they do graphic arts. They do 3D art. And so he does like product simulations, and he's done like visuals for Coachella and stuff like that as a freelancer. And so I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh, these people follow me on Instagram, like we're mutuals, and I always like their stuff and they always comment on my stuff. But I feel weird about reaching out to them." I'm like, "You are talking about like getting into this company as he wants to work for Edgelord, which is like kind of a weird, edgy, like visual arts company." And I'm like, the creative director is mutuals with you on Instagram. Like, that's an opportunity where you can position yourself to be lucky. Email him. Like,
Mhm.
in what ways are you missing opportunities to present your work and to collaborate with people who are
Yeah.
already showing interest? Like, there are warm leads already. Um, and so he like reached out to a few people that he had like warm leads with, like who were mutuals with him on Instagram, and he got a new client for his freelancing. But
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
or could you have sat on that? Like, I don't want to be like everything is about networking and whatever, but like that's how you position yourself to be lucky because it's not really about luck. It's not about like somebody walking up to you and discovering you? Like, in what ways can you find those opportunities for yourself?
Well, that's literally how you're here. Is I was
Yeah.
just like scrolling through LinkedIn one day and was like, hmm, we know each other. We've known each other for a long time. We haven't
Yeah.
talked in over a decade, but you know, shoot your shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds great." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was so excited. Like I called my boyfriend and was like, "Guess what?" And so then I had to explain who you were. And it was this really cool, like, oh, reminder, because it's one of
Yes.
the things that I teach my clients when they get into one-on-one coaching with me. And sometimes we're in this position where they have to move to a different job or they're wanting to move to something new. And
Mm,
I was like, why would we just rely on the one piece of paper that you're sending and hope to God that with all the other one pieces of paper, like I imagine recruiters
exactly.
sitting in a room. I know this is not what really happens, but this is what my brain pictures like in a tornado of papers, as if they were in Hogwarts and there's just like papers everywhere. And they just like reach out and grab one and they're like, this is the one that we're going to interview today. Because
I
that's
mean,
kind of how it
yes.
feels.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're going to go connect with all these people. We're going to go message them. We're going to see what kind of content that they're putting out into the world. And we're going to see what's the right fit for you because we might be connected with somebody or have a second connection with somebody that is the perfect person to get us to that next step. Like, I'm a big believer in the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
And I'm like, I love studying 6 degrees of separation because there's this idea. And I always relate it back to Taylor Swift because I'm like, how many people away from Taylor Swift am I? I am currently one. And it is the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
But, you start thinking about like, I had a friendly acquaintance that I had chatted with several times and talked with, spoken with on stages at conferences. We're sitting at lunch one day, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was talking about Megan Trainor and all these people that I like," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was just in studio with her yesterday," and I was like, "Motherfucker, are you serious?
Mhm.
Like, how many people am I so closely related to that I don't even realize it because I'm not
Yep.
talking about it?" And I tell people all the time, I'm like, "You are your own best kept secret." It's like when you
Yes.
go to the grocery store and you finally go down that one aisle that you never go down because the light's broken and it kind of flickers and you're like, there's nothing that I need down there. And at the end cap, you're like, oh my God, I've been looking for this. This is the exact thing that I needed to solve my problem. And
Yep.
that's how most people act. And then they go, oh, look, somebody found me. The things that I'm doing is working. And it's like, no, you're still at the end cap with the flashy light and nobody goes down that aisle.
Exactly.
So how do we move you to the front? Like,
Hmm.
there's very few things that can get away with being the back. It's
Mm.
the milk and the eggs. But we gotta
Mhm.
be, like, closer to the front. So when you become so Procter& and Gamble. Procter& and Gamble started out as a soap company. They made soap. They did soap well, and now they sell everything.
Mm. Mm.
So it's like, how do you become what is the one thing that you do really well, and how do we position that in a way that sounds fun and credible and put you in front of people? Like, I have you ever
Mm.
seen Elise Myers?
No.
Okay, so Elise Myers, I'll put it in the show notes for everybody. But she is on TikTok. And I remember following her when she was brand new. She had like a couple hundred followers. And I was like, this girl's really cool. I like her. I would
Mm.
be friends with her. Now she's also friends with Megan Trainor. So, that's
The
obviously
heck?
something that I need to
Hey, so
manifest.
yes. Yes. Like, it's very close to you.
Exactly, and she has done all these collabs with Pentatonics and different kinds of brands because she just got on there and was like, "This is what it's like to be me and to think the way that my brain thinks." And it was
Hmm.
just like her way of talking to people, and people related to it. And so she just was there is something to be said about being in the right place at the right time, but also, are you putting yourself in enough situations where there's the likelihood of you being in the right place at the right time is there?
Mm.
Princeton did a study that I was just reading yesterday, actually, where they had people hold in their minds. They were trying to prove if manifestation was real or not. So they had a computer system that would do ones and zeros, and it was completely randomized, and it was 50-50 of how many times these ones and zeros should be come up. And so they had I think it was over like 5 or 6 years. It was a significant amount of time that they did this. They would have people hold in their mind. They wanted them to get the number one more than they got the number zero. And so they had people hold it in their mind of this is the number one. And they interviewed the people afterwards of the people who got more ones. They started to see that the system would actually tilt towards one
Mm,
or the other. And so they started to interview the people that got more ones and the people that got more zeros and to find out what they were doing. Like, what's your secret for manifesting this thing? And
mm,
all the people that said that they got the ones that they were told to manifest just believed that it was going to happen. And they said that they got into somewhat of a meditative state and they let go of the outcome and they tended to get more of those ones. They did the same interview with the people who got more zeros that they weren't told to get, and they found that people were like they were so determined to get the one, but in the back of their mind, they still thought that they were gonna get the zero. And so, it's kinda like those situations where you're like, "I'm gonna go try this thing, but I'm still probably not gonna get it."
yeah.
And so, we become our own prophet in the process
Mhm.
because that reticular activating system, we start seeing the things that we're looking for. Like if I said, go look for a yellow slug bug, I hope to God everybody goes and sees a bunch of yellow slug bugs now because now you're going to be thinking about yellow slug bugs. And it's funny because it's like when I named my daughter Annika,
Hmm.
everybody's name was Annika. Their dog was named Annika, their aunt was named Annika, their cousin was named Annika. And I was like, oh my God, I did the research on this name. It is not this common. But it was because it was something that I was paying attention to now. Now
Yeah.
I saw it everywhere,
Hmm.
and it was a very interesting phenomenon, and I was in the hospital having her, and one of the nurses was like, "Yeah, this is very normal." And this was before I was doing all the work that I'm doing now, and she's like, "Yeah, it's like when you go into a place and that everybody says, 'Oh, yeah, here's a green Buick,' and you
Yeah.
start seeing Buicks everywhere because you just bought that car."
Exactly.
And I remember looking out the hospital window and going, "Oh, look, there's one right there."
Every time. Every
Mhm.
time. I'm a big believer in this sounds very woo woo and whatever, but I really do think that like visualization and manifestation are very important.
Mhm.
Like as and that you have to get almost to the teetering point of being delusional. Like um yeah, I think you have to get that far, like to almost be called delusional by other people because I don't know. I I feel like there have been a few things in my life where I'm like I visualized it, I put it on my vision board and I got what it is that I wanted.
Yeah, well, and I think it comes down to being the kind of person who's willing going back to what we said at the very beginning, am I willing enough to fail in order to get what I want in this world? Am I
Yes.
willing to say, "I will do whatever it takes to get where I wanna go?" And I think that
Yeah.
there's 2 ways that and we could literally call this, like, the daddy warbucks syndrome
Hmm.
of there's the do whatever it takes to get what you want and step on whoever you need to get where you need to go, and we all know somebody like that. And there's the I'm going to do the best that I can and get where I need to go by doing the things that I need to do. Adam Grant has a book that talks about this called Givers and Takers.
Hmm.
And he talks about how takers get places faster, they just don't keep it as long, and how
Mm.
givers take them longer to get there but there's more longevity because now you've created those relationships and it really does go back to networking. That whole mantra of your net worth is in your network. We say it and it's very cliche, but it's very true. Like you never know who that one person's going to be, who that one conversation you're going to have that all of a sudden changes your life overnight. I mean, I was
Mhm.
having a conversation with somebody not that long ago, and she was like, "Yeah, I was sitting, uh, at a with my friends, and we had decided that we were gonna go a little later to this thing, so we ended up going to a different bar than the restaurant we had originally planned, and I saw some other friends that were there, and then that's how I met my husband." And it's
Wow.
like, if you wouldn't have been in that situation in that specific time, so we could call it luck,
Hmm.
or we could call it, this is what was supposed to happen and the universe aligned the things in order to make X, Y, and Z fall into place. And
Mhm.
so thinking about life like that, like there is some magic to be had with how we think about things and how corporations run. And, I think about Thomas Edison and Walt Disney and all of these people that tried a million things. And Thomas Edison is a great example because he has so many patents because he just kept trying things. And he was like, well, I need to make money. So I'm going to make some toys over here and I'm going to do this over here. And eventually I will create the light bulb.
Mhm.
And how do you do that when it also is like, how do you balance that? And I know a lot of people listen to things like this and they go, well, that's great, Kabrina. I still have to pay my bills and go to my kids' things and pay for all their weird camps. And, I'd like to go on vacation and take a break every once in a while. And building in delusional time. Like,
Yeah.
we need a phrase for this. We just need to like
Right.
make it we'll start it trending.
You gotta leave some time for you to manifest that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that kinda goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, which, like, how how are we supposed to, when all these other priorities are happening, like, to be able to create something, to be able to, like, visualize your life, like, it feels like that takes an endless amount of time. And that's something I'm having a hard time with lately is, like, how do I make the time to do this? Because when I do, amazing things could be happening.
Mhm.
But in between those times when I'm, like, surviving and I'm trying to get everything done, it just feels like there's never enough time in the day. It just feels like there's never enough.
But what if let's walk through, like, some ideas because I think that this is gonna be helpful for everybody who's listening,
Mm,
is the idea of, like, how do we make time? Because time is the only resource that we can't make more of. We can make more money, we can make more of most things. The time is the one thing that we can't do anything with. So,
exactly.
when we say make time, it doesn't feel right because we can't make time. We can use time, um, so it's like I always tell people it's like finding that 5 minutes and just having something that you've written down, almost like your personal manifesto, and being like,
Mm,
"This is where I wanna be," and writing it down as if it's already happened. So if you're wanting to write a book or you're wanting to move careers, you're wanting to get a specific job at a specific place like, the person you were talking about, writing it down as if it's already happened, and then taking 5 minutes every day to just be
hmm,
like, "Okay, I'm sitting at my desk. I'm sitting and drinking my coffee, and I'm just gonna read that whole the way through every single day, at least once a day, and see what happens because then it goes back to if we want to get away from woo woo and more into the science piece of it is that reticular activating system in the frontal lobe is going, I'm looking for those things now. So
mm,
just like the yellow slug bug, I'm looking for the opportunities. I'm seeing them more because they're more obvious to me. Like, I did a scavenger hunt for my kids for, St. Patrick's Day because I have a thing with small fairies and small doors, and I happened to find one that was for a leprechaun. Um, Give me a can of sparkles and a small door and magic happens. But I decided to do a scavenger hunt, and literally my children were home for a significant amount of time, not even realizing that there was fairly obvious hints and, like, little pieces of paper with stuff around them sitting in places that they go around all the time, and I had to give them the clues to go find them because it wasn't obvious, and then all of a sudden, my six-year-old figured it out, and she was like, "Oh, there's one," and I was like, "Can't get that one yet, that's not in the order that they're supposed to go in," but she was already primed for it once she
mm,
realized what was happening. But, I mean, there was a giant container of chocolate coins on our counter in a basket, and nobody noticed it was there.
hmm.
And they walked by it as if, like, nothing was happening, and I think that this goes the same thing for opportunities and the things that we wanna do in our lives and our careers, is a lot of times they're right there in front of us, and we walk right by them because 'cause we're just not looking for it.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, that does help me. Um, that does help me because then it keeps it top of mind. That just the reminder that, like, it will help you look for the opportunities for that to happen is helpful to me.
Yeah.
Like writing it down and like or looking over it every day will help you to remind you to look for the opportunities to make those things happen. That's very helpful to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to that whole vision board idea, but I think that we've unfortunately kind of bastardized it.
Yeah,
Um, because it's one of those words like mindset and manifestation that, it's like in the kiddie pool, too many people have peed in it. And
100%.
they've made it seem like if I just read this mantra every single day, I'm going to be the CEO of Disney. I'm going to be the CEO of Disney, which has always been like my big dream when I was growing up. And all of a sudden it doesn't happen. And then you're like, well, it didn't work. And it's
Hmm.
like maybe we weren't being as put together as we needed to be because I think a lot of people go, I want to lose 50 pounds. And then they eat chocolate bars all day. And,
Mhm.
this is an extreme example, but
Mhm.
then they look back and they're like, "But I told myself every single day that I was gonna lose 50 pounds, but then I didn't make any changes to do it." And that's the thing about manifestation that I think people get wrong, is
Mm.
people wanna go, "I'm just gonna make it the universe is just gonna magically make it happen." And I
Mm.
feel like when I tell my kids, "God gave you legs," like, when they're like, "Can you give me some milk?" And I'm like, "God gave you legs. You know how
Yeah.
to do that."
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we're trying to make the universe be like our parent and be like, "Can you please just put this job in my lap? Can you
Like,
please
directly in
give
my
me all the
hand.
money? Can I just
Yep.
wake up tomorrow and find that I had a great uncle that I didn't know that died and gave me all of their change?"
That is so real, like, I saw again, I'm not on TikTok, but I am on Instagram, and there's a lot of crossover, but I saw a reel the other day where Kerry Washington was being interviewed about her acting career or something, and she said, like, "I think of it as this, like, um, let's say that I just missed the bus, like, it's just past me." And she's like, what I can do is I'll pray to God that I catch either I can wait for the next one or I can try to catch that one. So I'll pray to God that I catch that bus and then I start running for the bus. Because actually,
Mhm,
it won't like, it's not going to turn around and come back and get me. And the next one will come. But if I want that one, then I can like pray to catch it, but I will still have to run to get it.
mhm.
And so I'm like, I've been thinking about that a lot lately too. So that's like very in line with what I've been thinking about, I think. Like how what opportunities are already in front of me and how like what can I do to participate in that to like again like I'm saying like put myself in a position to be lucky. Cuz there's so many like random opportunities or like so many ways in like secret when you like do like needlework and you like look at the back and it's like all messy on the back,
Yeah.
right? It's like there's
Mhm.
so many like messy little things that went into when I hear people's success stories, they never talk about the back part. They just show you the front part, and I'm like, "No, I need specifics, like, who did you know in that office that, like, gave you the
Mhm.
opportunity to go through the specifics?" That's what I always wanna hear. People rarely do it, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's, like, a gatekeeping thing or, like, people just
I
really
don't think people do
romanticize
it
their
on purpose.
story.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think that people listen to other people's stories and they go, "Well, look at how they had their coming up." Like, we only mention the messy parts if it elevates the fact that we got to the next part. And so
Yeah.
we don't talk about those messy middles. And I always tell people, your message is in the mess.
Hmm. Yes.
People will shoot that idea down because 'cause they're like, "No, no, 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 you don't understand." And I think we all go through these moments, and I think over the last several years after my divorce, I had to go, "Well, if only this hadn't happened."
Hmm.
And then you have somebody else on the outside who's like, "But look at all the other things that happened because that thing happened, because you learned that lesson, because you did X, Y, and Z." And I go, "Okay, fine." But it still doesn't feel good. And I think we don't talk about those things because they don't feel good. And we
Yes.
don't necessarily categorize them
Hmm.
into a box in our brain that makes sense, and I think that we're still too connected to that moment. So, um, for people who experience this, like EMDR is a really great therapy to go through for that because then it takes that situation and puts it in a nice little box in your brain
Mm.
instead of you being connected to it. So it's like you can talk about it without feeling like you're gonna have an emotional reaction.
Hmm.
And so I think there's a lot of things that come out when I talk with people and when I hear people have these conversations that I'm like, "Ooh, let me go look up what they were writing at that time frame. Let me go see what they were thinking about, what they were talking about, I love reposting things that Facebook reminds me of because I'm like, "Ooh, look at how I just screenshot one from like 2011, 2010, 2011, and I was like, "Ooh, look, I was crying for help and I didn't even know that I was." Like you post something in like jest and you're like, "Actually, this was me having an emotional response that I didn't know how to communicate." And so I communicated it in this way, but now that I'm older and wiser, I can see what I was trying to say that I just didn't have the words for at that moment in time. And it's a really interesting thought process to go, well, where were they? And I hadn't thought to do this until actually somebody in a group that I'm in was like, I wonder what Travis Kelsey was posting at this time frame.
Hmm.
And they were like going back and they were like funny tweets and things like that because that's what we did. And I was like, that's interesting. Because if you look at his life at that point, the things that he had done, the interviews he was taking, and the things like that's all aligned, but then you're like, "Oh, okay, I see in retrospect." So it's like when you read that book and it
Yeah.
does that flashback and you're like, "Oh my gosh, they've been preparing for this whole time."
Yes.
Life does that.
Yes, 100%. And I guess maybe it is easier to do that in retrospect, and then you kinda clean up all the messy parts, and then you say, "This is the story I'm going forward with." But I find that so interesting, like, I love the messy part too. I love to hear, like, people like, "I didn't do this, but I ended up, like, doing this." Like, I need to hear that because that would help me more than the clean version of the story.
Okay, so I have a question for you because I get this pushback from leaders all the time. If a leader that you respected said, either in the moment or a little bit after, here's the messy things that I went through in order to get here, or here's the mistake that I made. And that's why we're in this situation. And this is why we're fixing it this way. Do you feel like that would make you respect them more or it would make you respect them less?
Definitely more. I like it when people can acknowledge that they've made a mistake. It just makes it so much easier to relate to them. It also makes it easier to, like it just makes it easier to see them as, like, a person who understands their own flaws and, like, I I work I've worked for people on both ends, like, people who are very easy to admit those things and people who are not, and I absolutely prefer the people who are easy to admit when they made a mistake. Because the person who can't, like, I don't think it helps to I think people who, shy away from taking that responsibility, like, they're less trustworthy. I just think that they are. Like, it's really hard to trust and wanna work with people like that. Like, it's hard to collaborate with people who can't admit their mistakes. Um, I don't know. It's just so much harder. It's so much harder.
Everybody needs that Hannah Montana moment.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody
Everybody
has
has those
days.
days. Yeah.
So, I always remind people of that, and they stare at me, and I'm like, "No, but really, like, people want to hear this from
I
you."
do. Yes.
And I think it does, it makes them so much easier to relate to because it's like, "Oh, maybe later in my career, I'll make a similar mistake, or I'll make a mistake and be like, oh, that person that I really respected was able to admit that, and now
Mhm.
I'm able to." But I think once we get into higher positions, leadership, people are looking at us, or have some influence of some kind. And we go, "Okay, now I have to button up. I've gotta be perfect. I've gotta have it all put together because if I don't, then people will no longer respect me. They will no longer follow me." And then it's that feeling of, like, losing a sports game or not getting chosen for something specific because now nobody wants to pay attention anymore.
I guess people feel like
It's
they're
a
risking
little
looking incompetent or something, but I think that's the opposite. Yeah, I just think it's the opposite. Like, people who I've worked with before Um, yeah, I don't know. I've worked in a few different settings. So like when I worked in a newsroom, uh, I loved that environment because everybody admitted their failures very quickly. Like you have to, because if you made a mistake, it was broadcast and everybody knows that it was your mistake because your name's next to it. And
Yeah.
so like during our meetings after the show, it would be like people would just be like, "That's on me." And there were so many times it was almost like cathartic because when I first starting as an editor, I made so many mistakes. And during the meeting, they have to write a discrepancy report, like discrepancy between what that was expected and what was actually aired. And like 90% of the stuff on the discrepancy report would be my fault. But it was like such a relief to just like walk away and be like as they were calling them out, like this happened in this video, I'd be like, that was me. And then the next one, that was me. But because you just have to. Like it's like there's no other choice. People do know that it's you. But it also like just made me feel it's so much easier to do that. So every other place that I've worked at since then, I've just been like, oh yeah, I did that. And people are always like very shocked by that. I'm always I worked at a place where for reasons that I don't want to explain, I liked to walk around barefoot. I just made a habit of doing that, which is really gross. You can't do that in a workplace. I forgot that I was outside of my office. I like walked to the break room with no shoes on. I usually had no shoes in my office, and I remember seeing a company-wide email that was like, just so you know, there's construction going on. People need to be wearing safe footwear. And so my boss later comes in to talk to me, and she's like talking about like, oh yeah, I saw that email, like joking around. She was like, who was walking around with flip flops? And I was like, no, it was me. I was barefoot. And she was just like, oh, like it's not hard to just admit that you did something wrong. Like I just hate corporate environments where you're couching your language so much to like not blame anybody. It's
Yeah.
like doing the opposite of that has just changed my perspective. Like it's just so much easier for me to admit that things are wrong.
I love that. Well, and it gets it into you're not carrying it with you. It gets it into the air, and it's back to the news thing. It's like it gives it oxygen.
Yeah.
And being able to say, "Okay, this is it. Okay, now we moved on." And we don't talk about it again because we've fixed the behavior, we've done the thing. And at the end of the day, there are lots of workplaces that I've been in where they do say it's fine to not wear shoes because they want you to be grounded and all of those things. And so, wrong or right in one area, it's just going, okay, cool. Now we know. We move forward. We don't feel bad about it. I had that situation happen this morning. My 4-year-old was loves to open the sunroof and listen to things like AC/DC and yell at his teachers and say, "Hey, I'm here," because he's
Aw.
4 and spazzy. Um, but his teacher, in a way to tell me, but by telling him was like, "I shouldn't see you in the sunroof because you should be ready to get out of the car." And she repeats it twice, and I was like, "Noted for tomorrow."
Mm.
Um, but it was like it felt very like you were in trouble, and I was like, "How am I supposed to know that's what you want?
So
You
yeah.
tell me."
Yeah. Wow.
And so, I think we all do it in different situations where we'll be like, "Hey, roundaboutly, let me not be forward with you. Let me just be like, here, let me send this invoice out. Let me send this email. Let me tell you from the sidelines of this is not okay." Instead of being like, "Hey, I saw that you didn't have shoes on today. We've got some things happening. I just want to make sure that your feet don't get hurt. Can you just make sure you put shoes on?"
So much
Cool.
easier.
I mean, like, who needs a whole email?
That
Oh,
was crazy.
it's like the unspoken prayer. I have an unspoken, but let me give you all the details so you know exactly who it is. And we're
Exactly.
doing that in corporate language. Like, it's how we go. And we've done it for so long that it's become a cultural thing. And I know I've worked with people in a lot of different countries. I've got some Australians that are my clients, and they're very direct. They're like, "This is how we are." And I had somebody apologize to me once. They're like, "I know that I'm very straightforward." And I was like, "No, it's fine. Like, I've got all your stuff done, and here's your things to do." And like, it made my job so much easier
Yeah.
because I didn't have to decode it as it was happening.
Yes.
I was just like, "Okay, cool. This is what you want. Awesome." It's not exactly how I would have presented it. I would have been a little bit different, but it was straightforward enough to where I didn't have to worry. I knew what my job was, and she knew what her job was, and we just got the stuff done. And I think that if we did that more, we'd be much more productive.
We'd be so much freer. If we spoke directly and if we were more open to failure and exposing our own failures, we would be so much freer. It would just like, I don't know how to make that happen more regularly, but like that gives me so much freedom and relief when I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
That's something that maybe it's just like the age that I'm at now. I wish I had felt this way previously. Like it's so frustrating. Like I wish I knew this lesson before in my life. Like I wish, but it's just not possible to go
Yeah.
backwards. But oh my God, so many times where I just wish that I knew this lesson before then. Like it's so much more freeing if you could just embrace that things might not happen the way you want them to.
Yeah.
That as you fail, you can admit your failure to other people. Like I wish I had known that in the past.
Hmm. Well, and I think that this will be, we should, as we noodle on this, because now there's going to be like, oh my God, we should talk about this. Um, we'll have you back on the podcast and we'll chit chat through some of these other lessons because I think that there's a bunch that are coming to mind, and I know we're hitting almost an hour recording. But I would love to know. I love to ask questions at the end of podcast episodes of like the same thing every single time. And I think for this podcast, we're going to start asking people, what did you want to be? What's the first thing you remember wanting to be when you grew up?
Hmm. I
It doesn't have to be professional. It could be a dinosaur.
Okay, because 'cause I'm, like, embarrassingly, I used to write a lot. I always thought I wanted to be a writer. Um, I still write a lot, but I think I thought, like, writer as a profession was something that I could do. Um, and that's k I'm like, poet, like, more specifically, like, poet, which
Hmm.
I don't think any person makes a living writing poetry. That's so odd to, like but that's what I dreamed of was, like, writing poetry specifically.
I love that. You could definitely still be a poet. You
Probably.
just,
Maybe that's something I try again. I used to really like a lot
yeah,
writing poetry a lot, so yeah. But
maybe write a poetry book. Like write one poem every day for 30 days and then KDP publish it on Amazon.
that'd be that might be something that I could try this year. I have a list of goals that I have, just lifetime goals, and that might be on
Hmm.
there. Yeah.
I love that. Well, if you end up doing that, I definitely want to hear about it
Yeah.
and just see kind of those things because, like, it's possible. I mean, it's so easy to KDP publish now. I had a
Yeah.
client who he was like, I really want to write this journal. And I was like, okay, cool. I have a template. Do you want to use it? And
We have
here's how you make
templates.
it. Hmm. I was like, here's how you make it. I was making my own books on, I have many, many, many journal or different covers of, they're not journals. They're like the old school, like they're just lined pieces of paper that I
Yeah.
created. And I have like 200 of them if you go look up my name on Amazon. It was like a try. I was testing something just to see if it would work. And, they're still all there. I make, like, a couple dollars here and there from Amazon every once in a while. But I was like, it's so easy to put together. Like, you could just use this template, put it up there, put the things you
Yeah.
want to in there inside of it, and
Hey.
magical KDP book with your name on it. And he sold lots of them, and it's part of his business now. And there's things that you don't think about until you're like, oh, that actually is easier than I thought that it was. So that's I'm interested to see. We can chat about this
That's
and see
amazing.
if we can get you KDP published official.
Wait, that's a really good idea. I have other people in my life that I would also direct to do this, actually. Um, that's a great idea.
There you go.
Sometimes when I hear about these things, sometimes it's not for me, but it might be for somebody that I know. So because I'm
Mhm.
kind of like, there are like two people in my life who have written really great stories in the last few years that they've done nothing with them. I would love to make them publish something
Mhm.
coming up
Done and
soon.
done. Okay, so you could be like, "Hey, guess what? I have a challenge for you."
Yes.
And just see what happens. Because the worst thing that happens is, your mom and your best friend buy the book, but at
Yeah,
least you can say, "I published something. I did this thing. I got it off of my
exactly.
desk and made something of it.
Exactly.
I did what Seth Godin told me to do, and I shipped it."
Exactly. That's
So, but I
fantastic.
love that. So I appreciate you taking the time to reconnect after over a decade and to be on the podcast. And we will see you all next week on Full Strength Leader. That's a wrap on today's episode of Full Strength Leader. Take the lesson from today into your leadership this week and see what magic happens. If this episode hit home, I want to hear from you. Drop your questions, your reaction, or your biggest takeaway on Spotify in the comments under this episode. I read every single one, and your questions shape what we talk about next. And if you thought of someone during this show, do me a favor and share this episode with them. And don't forget to follow along so you never miss an episode. You can find me to connect and work with me directly at KabrinaAshley.com. Full Strength Leader starts here. We'll see you next week.